Good morning, everybody. You join me nice and early today before it gets too hot, because today we're going to be talking about onions. So about 2 weeks ago I came down here and started harvesting onions, going through the row and being quite selective. But now it's time to harvest the rest. So today we're going to answer the question, when are my onions ready to pick? And we're going to take it a little bit further, and I'm going to show you how I cure my onions. It may not be the only way or the best way, but how we cure our onions here at TNT. And then talk a little bit about how we're going to store our onions so we can use them as long as possible through the winter and be as self-sufficient as we can be, at least with respect to onions. But first, show you when they're ready to pick. So down here at the onion row, you can see that our tops have given up. They have folded over onto themselves. The color is starting to go out of them. They're starting to dry out. What they're telling you is, I've done my job. I'm ready. It's time to pick me. So once the majority of your onions have reached this point where the tops have given up and laid down for the season, it's time to harvest your onions. So we're going to go ahead and dig these all up, and then we'll show you what I do to cure them. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about how we are going to store them. Now when it comes time to pick your onions, you don't want to just try pulling them out from the stalk, because if you've waited the right amount of time, some of these may just rip right off. Some are going to be more dried out than others. What you're going to want to do is get your hands or your fingers underneath of the onion. And if your ground is hard, you may have to dig around with your fingers and thumbs. But essentially scoop out that onion from the bottom, pulling out the roots. So there is a great onion ready to be cured. Let's go ahead and pick the rest, and then I'll check back in with you. So here are all those onions we just picked in the bucket of the tractor. Let's take them back to the barn and move on to the next step. So the next step in our process is preparing them for the curing. Now hopefully you've waited a couple dry days before picking your onions. That helps quite a bit rather than picking them right after a rain. That way they're already started drying out naturally in the ground. And there's different ways you can prepare these. You can spread them out, you can hang them up. We're going to hang them up. That's how we do it here at the TNT farm. But what you want to do is ensure that you get your onions in a place that's good and dry and has good ventilation. So I bundle these up typically in groups of 5 or 6 depending on the size. And then we'll go ahead and we'll hang them up, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Well, let's start by making our first bundle. Here is 5 pretty good sized onions, so I'm just going to put 5 in this bundle. Now I've already done one batch of onions this year. This is just the final batch. And they turned out really good. You're going to want to tighten that up, cinch it up good and tight, and then it's ready to hang. Now for me personally, a nice, dry, convenient place to hang my onions is inside the greenhouse with the exhaust fan going all the time or all day long. Provides a little bit of airflow, which we're after. But it's going to be nice and warm and sunny and dry in here. So we'll check on these in about a week. And if they're ready, we'll cut them down and take them on to the next phase. Well, they've been hanging up there for 8 days. I think it's time we cut them down and get them ready for storage. So all we've got left to do now is cut the roots and the tops off of these onions and then get them ready for storage. We're going to take the first bundle apart. Get that string off there. Now the first thing I'm going to do is cut the roots off the bottom. They're all nice and dry. And then when I cut the tops off, I'm going to leave about 3/4 of an inch up from the onion. And I'll just clean off any loose skin and remaining dirt. Now it's time to put it in the box for storage. We'll just repeat that process until all the onions are ready. Here's the final basket of onions that we just got done cleaning, and all the old onion tops, they're going to go in the compost pile. Well, that's going to wrap up another episode of Try New Things. We got our onions all done. I'm about ready to take them home. The thing to remember now with the storage is keep them in a cool, dark place. So we're going to find a room in our basement with no windows that we typically don't go in. We're going to store those onions. You're going to want to check them every time you go to pull a few onions out to do your cooking, just to make sure none are going bad. Now, unlike potatoes, onions like it really dry. If you're storing potatoes for a long period of time, same kind of recipe. You want cool, you want dark, but you do want a little bit of humidity to keep those potatoes from drying out. Onions, on the other hand, driest room you've got in the basement is going to be the best. But anyway, if you got any questions or comments, as always, leave them below. I'd love to hear them. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks again. Bye-bye.